Since the earliest announcement that Dragon Ball Super would be getting its first movie, fans have been wondering whether the form that very much defined the Tournament of Power, Ultra Instinct, would be making an appearance in the movie. Following the limited premiere back in November, the resounding answer was nope, it is not in the film, and in fact that was my viewpoint as outlined as a small contributing negative in my review. However, as of December, with things leaking out of the nationwide release in Japan and the Western premiere in LA, there's been yet another resurgence of this question, which surprised me, but it's not without reason. In the middle of the film, and spoilers by the way, there is a huge transformation scene as Goku changes from Super Saiyan God into Super Saiyan Blue. In this sequence, there is a split-second shot of Goku with white hair and pupils that of course looks a whole lot like Ultra Instinct. That's gotten a lot of people very worked up, and reportedly people at the LA premiere freaked out when they saw this shot. I have to say, at the screenings I went to in Japan, nobody even flinched at that shot, and myself, Herms and Cypher, who I saw the film with, were really surprised that anyone considered it a possibility. That aside, I'm not really interested in arguing about subjective interpretations of what is literally 1 second of the movie. I want to talk objectively about what information we have about that scene and any worthwhile evidence surrounding it. After that, feel free to make up your mind. The truth of the matter is, we'll probably never know unless the film's director, Tatsuya Nagamine, says something publicly about it. So let's dive right into the very skeleton of this scene, its storyboard. The official movie pamphlet I got at my screening in Japan very fortunately has Nagamine's board for this transformation, and it's very revealing. The colour of the shot aside, one of the big things fans bring up is the fact that Goku has pupils here. The obvious retort is that he's changing from God to Blue, and since God has pupils, it's not exactly unrealistic for him to retain those mid-transformation, and in fact, it's not the first time that that has happened. We don't actually need to be that subjective here. Not only does the storyboard show Goku specifically drawn with pupils, but it's actually a recurring theme throughout this film to convey intensity. At the start of Goku's fight with Broly in his base form, he has pupils, and you can find similar artistic choices in the Gogeta part of the film on both Broly and Gogeta. This is very much an idiosyncrasy of Nagamine, and not something to put much stock into. The next piece of evidence is in the description of the scene. There is absolutely zero mention of Ultra Instinct at all. The text simply reads, "He changes to blue in one burst." If that weren't enough, the film has 2 novelizations, and neither have any mention of Ultra Instinct either. The adult version of the novel describes the transformation as Goku being enveloped in an aggressive power different from Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan God, which is a reference to Nagamine's description of Super Saiyan Blue being the aggressive form in contrast to the others. The junior version is even clearer, simply describing Goku's hair changing from red to blue. Were there originally any narrative intention for Ultra Instinct in this film, it would 100% be mentioned in these descriptions, and it's just not. The next part that people bring up is all about the colours. Why white if not for Ultra Instinct? Admittedly, this is where we have to head into slightly more subjective territory, but I think these are valuable points to consider. The first thing that came to my head is that Nagamine spoke about wanting to convey transformations entirely differently to anything that had come before. That is plain to see in this film. For example, when Vegeta begins to transform into Super Saiyan, his hair turns green. Nagamine plays with colour a lot in this film, and it's a throwback to an approach his mentor Shigeyasu Yamauchi took when he directed the original Broly film. I'm sure many of you will remember Broly with purple and pink hair, or Goku with pinky purple hair. These are really common artistic decisions that directors make all of the time. I'm sure anyone who has seen the Yosun Goku special from 2008 will remember director Yoshihiro Ueda threw in red and blue hair just for a little bit of fun as well. In the case of Super Saiyan Blue here, it's incredibly common to display Goku in white before he transforms, and in fact, you can see that all over Dragon Ball Super. To me, this just seems like Nagamine's take on that idea, rather than there being any deeper meaning to it. Some people focus on the fact that the aura changes too, and while I can understand that if you're only looking at the screenshot, if you actually see that scene in motion, you'll see that that effect is just the aura flowing into Goku before it bursts out into Super Saiyan Blue. There is no evidence in text form that Ultra Instinct makes an appearance in this movie. If that is Ultra Instinct, which it may well be, I'm not ruling it out entirely, I do acknowledge it looks so much like it. If that is Ultra Instinct, then it's likely that it was a decision that Nagamine made independent of the original intention, both in the script and the storyboard. Maybe it's an Easter egg, maybe it's an artistic decision, maybe it's nothing at all. Again, we won't know unless Nagamine says something publicly. But for me, until the evidence it exists outweighs the stuff that implies it doesn't, I think for the sake of not spreading misinformation and rumours, it's better to err on the side of caution. I'm going to try and reach out to Nagamine on Twitter and see if he's willing to open up about it. He doesn't use Twitter very much, so we may not get a reply for a long time, if at all, but I really want to see if my interpretation is right or wrong, since it does change the framing of the battle just a little bit. Like I said in my review, it was hard to buy into the tension of the fight when the most obvious solutions hadn't been explored. And while an attempt at using Ultra Instinct doesn't exactly alleviate those issues, it certainly helps, so I'm really interested to hear the answer. Let me know what you guys think. I know the film isn't officially out for most of my audience, but I'm also keenly aware of what's out there on the internet. I know many of you will have probably seen the film at this point. Please do remember to support it if it does come out to your country. So let me know what you think. Was that Ultra Instinct, or was it just an artistic decision? If I get a definitive answer, I'll pin it in the comments down below, but do be sure to follow me on Twitter for updates, because I do appreciate you probably won't be checking back on this video time and time again. If you enjoyed this little breakdown, please be sure to leave me a like, and for more production info, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.